Alrighty, so it is week 5 in Intro to SQL. And I thought what I'd do before I get into this week's work is just give you a little preview for where we're heading. So this week we finish up the problem set for Cyberchase. Next week we start a new topic. So up until this point we've been dealing with one table only. So now we're going to deal, which is a most likely case, is more than one table. And so in a relational database concept, we have to relate them together because when we're designing databases, they're designed such that we have multiple tables, but we have to then write our SQL to actually have that handle the multiple table environments. Again, most common. Okay, so we're going to do relating for a couple weeks. Okay, and then we're going to do back to problem set. So you see how this goes, right? So doing the code alongs, hitting the concepts, doing the reviews, and please do take the time. It seems like many of you are getting through these reviews well. And really that's your check to see how well, because remember, the idea here is you should try this without any assistance first. And then if you don't get them all correct, there is a time limit, 50 minutes, but if you don't get them all correct, and really you should just try it again for more practice because it is just good practice. And I notice most of you are getting through those things in about 30 minutes, sometimes less, sometimes a little more. Just know that we're going to have a new revision out fairly soon. Matter of fact, you guys might be the first ones to test it, maybe even as soon as next week. All right, so, but then after that, we're going to do 2 problem sets. We don't break one into 2 like we did with Cyberchase. We have lost letter and dubious delivery. And then so that's ending week 9, so halfway through the semester. Then the technical interviews are open for you to sign up, and I'll cover that later. I just want you to know where we're heading, right? 25% of this class is related to a technical interview. So if you're somebody who doesn't give the time to actually learning how to write SQL, that technical interview will not be fun for you. But let me just say this. One of the things I encourage students to do is come see me, because one of the things that can make you just nervous is not knowing the person, not knowing the interaction that will happen. And if you get that, feeling of who the person is, it might help a little. And it probably is just good to connect because you may have some other questions around the course, or I've been in technology a minute, so you could also ask me other things. Okay. So just to know where we're heading. Now, I didn't go through everything, but those are the topics coming at us. So the other thing, and this is my first topic here, is in the near future. So this is a semester that I get evaluated, which is, for me, I actually feel like I get evaluated every semester because at the end of the semester I ask you for your feedback. And here's the deal. Now it's a formalized process to where I don't even know. I think it's in October. I'm just giving you the heads up now. Is that is a really important thing for you. You are our customers, and we are here to serve our customers. Now, some people might not like my analogy, but I really try to see it this way. So for me, this is a formalized process that I don't see who it is. I don't see who gave the feedback. I see the feedback, but I don't see it until the end of the semester after we are done. So I just want you to know, in this class, in any class, it really is important. And a lot of the things that are in my classes have come from student feedback, okay? This is true. I highly value feedback. I give a lot of feedback, and I highly value it back, okay? So in the near future, you're going to get some message that will come up. And if you will take the time to give that feedback, I would greatly appreciate it. The campus would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so now let's talk about this week's work. First, we're going to go over a few items just related to, some other check-ins. And by the way, the code spaces, I haven't had anybody reach out to say they're running out of space. But if you want to look back at your usage, we're in a new month now, so we've rolled now that number. So just keep that in mind. You can look back. I think it was week 2 I went over those links, but you can also ask on Discord. Okay, so now looking at week one, there was a couple of things. Many of you got the proof of work file, sorry, the proof of effort file done. And I could see by looking at your attempts to write the queries, your effort. Some of you just gave me the final version, and that doesn't give you any points because it doesn't show me your thinking process. So you really need to give that file, that proof of effort, that that it needs. And 30% of the 30 points comes from that file. That's why it's important. And it helps me see you're authentically doing the work because I get it, right? You can ask AI for this. Trust me, I see work submitted that I'm barely sure I know where it came from. Again, the reason I bring up the technical interview is it won't help you with my technical interview. The one thing I did see more than a handful of times with students weren't using the backticks. And I actually just recorded a video for part 2 where I talked about this and showed the example. So just if you got feedback from me, make sure you get it this time. Okay? Now, I did talk about the reviews already and the importance of them. A new version is coming of that. It will look a little different. But again, the idea of the reviews. And I have to tell you, I think the reviews this semester, and you, again, may not have taken me another semester, but this version of the reviews are working the best so far. And some of you saw my feedback about, if you ask for an explanation, also include, don't give me the answer, because you don't want it to give you. AI wants to help you, trust me. We're not sure that's good, but I understand it. Now, on the submission, I talked about this too, so it's a little bit of a duplicate, right? Make sure you're submitting your Git history for the cyber chase and telling me in the comments you're taking a break. And remember, make sure you're doing all those workflows correctly, because I look at that. So you actually have a chance for multiple reviews. The other thing I saw was that, there's a string versus an integer, right? So when, like on season 1, some of you put a single quote around 1. And that means it's looking for a string, which will most likely not give you the right output, because if you look at the table, and this is something we're going to end up seeing later, is how to look at a schema so that you can see what that data type is. But in general, if it's asking for a season 1, right, in this case, it is listing that, make sure you do it. So if you're using quotes around it, it thinks it's a string and won't produce the same. And I've already talked about the technical interview. So that's it for the course topics. Let's move on now to what you're going to do this week. Because one of the things that you're working on at this point is your ability to read a problem, right? So the problems from CyberChase. And then write a query to solve or output the results of what it's asking for. And the one thing I've heard students say fairly consistently is like jumping from just coding along and learning and doing reviews to actually writing queries is a leap. And so one thing I did last semester, and we're going to do it again this semester, is I'm going to have you take this prompt and use whatever AI tool you want. I'm going to use Gemini because that's what I've been using lately and I really like it. And then copy this in. So basically you could read this. I'm a student taking an intro, gives all the things you've learned. We're now working on problem sets where I'm given a problem and I have to write SQL, right? So give me a problem and teach me. So it'll actually have you give it what kind of data set you want. It'll give you a little mini data set, and then it'll give you it'll even give you an example of how it breaks down, like takes a problem and breaks it down and writes SQL. So once you look at that, right, then it'll ask me for a variation of the problem, right? Once you give, and in this case, when you're pasting this in, you're telling AI, right? Then ask me a variation of the problem, okay? And then don't give me the answer, just help me with that problem-solving skill set, right? So remember, this is a learning process. Be friendly, make it fun, right? You can start by asking me the data. Oh, this actually comes now, because it'll give you something. Now, by the way, this interaction also can vary based on the LLM that you use. I was actually just looking at the output that was generated here by Gemini, and it was really interesting. And I'm almost positive it's different than what I'd used when I used ChatGPT before. So your LLM of choice makes a difference here. And this is one of the things people often ask me which one is the best one to use. And I honestly say use one long enough to really feel like you're good at prompting. Okay, so first you're going to do that. And this actually sets a timer, right? Set a timer on this, right? So that you do it for at least 10 minutes. Yeah, actually that broke off, but it's 10 minutes. So do this work. And by the way, do it longer. And this is one of the things I think I saw somebody post was that this is a great use of generative AI is to help you learn. So we're just formalizing that integrated assignment, right? So in this case, once you do your 10 minutes or more, right, then you reply, you tell us, right, in your reply, tell us if the prompt and your chosen Gen AI was helpful to you. Now, you don't need to show us your output. That's not the idea. Now, by the way, all of these also do provide the ability to share. Like if I wanted to come up here, actually, I think it's down in here now. If I wanted to share this, every time I go, oh, tools, create deep research, it must be somewhere else. Anyway, I don't see it right now. Every time I go look for something, it changes because it's always changing. But anyway, whichever one you use, there is a share option. So you could share the link with us, but don't, because what will happen is we'll get this avalanche of content, which is not the idea here, right? The idea is for you to tell us if the prompt in your chosen Gen AI was helpful to you. Was this a helpful process? Again, don't share the output. You can share the link. So now you have to write at least 150 words here, right? This is part of this process, and do one substantive reply. So, again, I'm seeing some fairly short, and it's not that substantive means long, it means meaningful. Okay, that's what substantive means. Okay, so that is your week 5 attendance. Have a great one. I'm glad you're here. Hang out, get help. You got this. Really, the truth is you got this. There is help for you, and some of you could definitely take advantage of my office hours, Brianna's hours, right? So please get help when needed. Okay, talk to you later. Where am I?